Good afternoon. It's Sarah. I'm here today to talk to you about a number of different things. This is the channel Blue Roswell Woke Donkeys, and I'm the chair of the Democratic Party in Chaves County, which is in southeastern New Mexico. It's been today's Wednesday, so it's 6 days after the presidential debate, and there is a lot being said about that, and a lot of people have opinions. Just like me, I have an opinion as well. And, it seems like the media has really, really gone after Biden about, his performance that night. And I would tell you that he has to explain and help people to feel strongly that he is up to the job. And that's fair. That's not unfair. He knows that. He understands that requirement. What I don't understand is why people would not support a man who has, for the last 3.5 years, done a number of things that have helped our country, and so much better than anyone else. And so, let me see if I can find a couple of really quick things. There's just so much I want to tell you all the time. The Biden administration has been a tremendous success. This is Jamie Raskin, representative from Maryland. We had the lowest employment in more than 50 years. We've lowered inflation more than any other country in the 67 and added more than 16 million new jobs. 6 million of those since we've recovered from the pandemic. Trump is only one of 2 presidents who left office with fewer jobs than when he started, just him and Hoover. And he brags about getting Roe overturned, and now MAGA Republicans want to ban abortion nationwide and get rid of IVF and birth control. This makes Trump a threat to our country, and it makes the idea that Project 2025, I said early on when I started recording this, that it was already in effect and starting to be used. Well, that is no clearer than if you look at the Supreme Court and the things that they have done. And they have done a lot in the last 2 years, starting with Roe versus Wade. So let's just review a couple of those. Let's see. Where did I put that? I'm just going to read this to you. It says, to be honest, this is just a random person, keeper of the flame. To be honest, I just don't have a good answer for why a large swath of people have become so profoundly delusional that they praise and literally worship a twisted, demented, and deeply perverted psychopath and want him to be the leader of the free world, which he will quickly turn into another North Korea. These pretend Christians and other delusionals listen to this monster babble on about complete nonsense, telling one sick lie after another, fomenting fear and hatred, and announcing cruel and evil policies that he hopes to inflict upon many of us through the use of Project 2025, especially migrants, sending any of us who oppose him to concentration camps, and the list of insane garbage continues. How on earth did these everyday so-called average people become so clearly sick and cruel themselves that they wildly cheer and applaud a deranged monster who wants to commit heinous acts and inflict massive harm upon so many? It doesn't get any sicker than that. And there is a great power in numbers, and my prayer is that we all reach down and find the courage needed to stand up to this evil that has descended upon us and end it once and for all. And that would be my wish too, that Trump cannot take office again. Our democracy will be over. This vote, and there's this saying that you never know when's the last time you're ever going to see your parents before they pass away, or you never know when that moment is, or you never know when the moment is that you and your significant other have the last time you'll ever have sex. Well, you never know those things, right? What you also don't know is when is the last time you go to the polls thinking, I'm always going to be able to go to the polls and vote. Well, that may not be the case. And I know I sound scary, and I know it's a really alarming thing to say, but the truth is that Trump doesn't like people to vote. He doesn't want to. He's only won one election, and that was through the Electoral College. He's never won a popular vote, and he's lost the House in 2022. He lost again the presidency, and he lost again in 2020, he lost the House. In 2022, he lost huge amounts of people that had been incumbent because people are sick of this MAGA nonsense. And then he put 3 people on the court illegitimately in some cases because Mitch McConnell stole that seat. And he's put 3 people on the court who now make up 6-person majority of conservatives. These are not normal Republican conservative people. These are extremists, and they have clearly told us what their plans are. They have obliterated Roe versus Wade, a woman's right to make health care decisions, because abortion is, after all, health care. You may actually be septic. I think you need health care when you're septic and you've got a problem. And so, even though the book Mandate for Leadership talks about health care, or abortion is not health care, the truth is it is health care. You may not like it, but it is. And so there are many, many reasons that, what did they do? I just saw it just a little while ago. Let me see if I put it on my thing. Yeah, I probably did. All the reasons that they did what they did. I've got to tell you that. Okay, it says the Supreme Court, the next president will have the powers of a king. That is not what the founders intended, quite the opposite. Here's another one. You can regulate a pregnant body, but not a coal plant. You can control the free speech of a teacher, but not the money as speech of a corporation. You can coerce a child to pray in school, but you can't keep guns out of their classrooms. What a world the Supreme Court is making. No kidding. Here's another thing for you to think about. A Christian movement that demands its fellow citizens be held accountable to the strictest of biblical laws while simultaneously not wanting its preferred presidential candidate to be held accountable to any law is embodying the height of both political and religious hypocrisy. Yes, and our Supreme Court did that. Okay, so let me see. Yesterday, they ruled that Donald Trump cannot be held accountable for he's been granted immunity, which was ludicrous on its face. We listened to all the pundits on television telling us that it was absolutely crazy that the Supreme Court was even taking this up because, so many of the other federal courts and district courts and appellate courts had already ruled that no, there's no such thing as presidential immunity. And now our Supreme Court has done a power grab and grabbed that from us. And how did they do that? Well, they basically said that the Supreme Court has said that for his official acts, while he's a president, he can't be held accountable. And what does that mean? I guess I'm getting more scared as I learn more about it. And that is that official acts can be anything that you say you want, that you say. But if we can't determine that through the court systems and the federal courts, and of course, Trump's end game has always been delay. So he has actually delayed every single court case so that it's not going to be heard before the election. The American people don't know what the real result of those January 6, 2021, whether he fomented an insurrection, which the answer is yes, he did. We all saw it with our own eyes on television. And any other person that had taken classified documents and refused to give them back. And that's the caveat between him and Pence and him and Biden. He refused. As soon as they found out they had actual classified documents, they called the Archive Center and said, we have these documents, come and get them, help. But no, for a year, this guy knowingly refused to give them back to the National Archives. So they sent in the FBI to go and raid the house to get them because he just flat out refused. And while that was happening, he had people moving things. He's asked people to destroy videotape of people moving things so that he could still maintain and keep those things. He is on recorder in New Jersey at his Bedminster place actually showing somebody a document saying, well, when I was president, I could have declassified this if I wanted to, but I can't now. Well, okay, that's cognizant and behavioral, but now I guess that's okay because he was the president then, and he took them when he was president, so it's going to be okay. And the Supreme Court has ruled that. They've also ruled that they will be the deciding factor now on what is and isn't official presidential business. So almost like, if you're a Republican president, everything's official business, but if you're a Democratic president, should we ever have one again, then you're not going to be held. You'll be held to a different standard because the Supreme Court has decided they're the ones that are going to adjudicate that from now on, thus snatching a huge amount of control and power away from Congress and everybody else. So we need to pass an amendment in Congress. But getting back to what they did, they've done a lot. And with this immunity thing, there are three ways of a person getting in trouble. One is, was it a core official function of your job as president? If it was, you get a pass. You want to hire SEAL Team 6 to kill your political opponent? Pass, immune. You want to create opportunities for foreign governments to interfere in our elections? Immune, because you were the president when you did it. So this cannot stand. And not only that, but they've now given the presumption of immunity. That's the second thing that they did in this. And there's 4 things they did that were really troublesome. The second thing was just assuming that everything is, he's been granted immunity. And the third thing that happened is, he's chargeable for unofficial acts. But you can't actually ask anybody from the White House or any proof from the White House. You can't ask him his motivation for doing it. It doesn't matter why he did it. But if you can't prove those things without actually bothering people that worked at the White House, then you can't actually charge him for anything. I may be completely off base on that, but that is the way I'm interpreting what was written. The other thing that happened was Justice Thomas, for no particular reason other than he wants to help his pal. Maybe Harlan paid him some more money because that's who owns him, Harlan Crow in Texas. And, somebody, I don't know if anyone knows this about Harlan Crow, but he has this huge room full of Nazi paraphernalia. He's a big Nazi guy. He loves it, loves all the historical stuff. And that should be a huge ass red flag for you. So here we go with Mr. Thomas, and he wrote in that decision that Justice Sotomayor actually dissented from, and in a very forceful way. And he wrote that he would consider that the special counsel that has been appointed to deal with the January 6th in Washington incident and the theft of our national secrets, and having national secrets in, unlocked rooms just randomly in your bathroom, or you're, on the stage at your vacation home, that he doesn't think the special counsel was legally appointed. And therefore, he just told the woman in Florida who's been delaying making any decision whatsoever, why don't you just throw that out and we'll help you along and make sure that it doesn't come to court. This is creating a king. We didn't set up our country. The Declaration of Independence was set up declaring that we are no longer going to abide by a monarch or a king, and we are going to be our own separate nation, and we're going to rule ourselves under a democracy. That's what the Declaration did. And they very specifically said, we will not be ruled by a king. And that when you have immunity and you don't get in trouble for anything, you can't be held accountable for anything. Who does that remind you of? A king. So the other things that the Supreme Court have done that have been very troublesome and helping to push along the agenda of this Project 2025 is that they have ruled against the Chevron doctrine. Okay, that's a 40-year-old doctrine that says that if Congress hasn't completely filled out every single, I, dotted every I or crossed every T or said exactly what they know, and how the agency, like say the EPA or the Department of Commerce or Department of Labor or Transportation or any of those agencies that rule on corporations and how they can and cannot do stuff, that if if that happens, then the Chevron doctrine said that the experts at those agencies who know and who study the science and have things evolve and change over time, because that's the way the world works, we're no longer going to defer to those professional people or those experts in their field. We're going to let the judges in the federal courts decide whether or not they are allowed to do what they do. That's another paragraph, and that is a very scary one. It means that corporations can now just control everything because they can pay for it. And you and they're already taking away the OSHA. They're already taking away, well, you don't need to have a break. You can work 14 hours a day and you don't need to have a break and you don't need to have anything. Let's do union busting. Like Elon Musk and the guy that owns Amazon want to bust all the unions. So what they're doing now, because they're so rich, is they're going after the agency that controls unions, the NPRA or something like National Protection. They're the ones that govern all unions. So they're going after them so that they don't have to deal with unions ever. I'm sure Starbucks is in on that too, because they've been doing some nasty stuff to people that want to set up a union. Unions protect workers. So that happened. They also, where is it? Let me see if I can find it really quick. They also, no, I don't have it there, but maybe I have it over here on the other one. There have just been a number of court cases that they have done that have just been really freaky. And I should point out that every one of them actually lied during their hearing. Okay. Oh, here's another little funny tidbit one. Young women, do you like driving, dressing however you want, working, going to school, having fun with your friends, having your own bank account, making your own decisions? Theocracies take all that away. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Iran. Those women don't have those rights anymore, and they used to. The GOP wants a Christian theocracy. This is serious. Vote blue. And that was from Michelle, and the other 98 put that in. Oh, just another funny one. We've never heard of funny how we never needed presidential criminal immunity until we had a criminal president. Corrupt MAGA justices protect Trump yet again. When he used his official powers in any way, when he uses them in any official way under the majority's reasoning, he now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold onto power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. Justice Sotomayor. Okay, I guess I don't have it. Oh, shiza. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, fine. That's not the one either. We talk about in previous years, until Trump showed up, we used to require that presidents turn in their taxes so we could evaluate, where they invested. When they would take office, they would put all of their assets into a blind trust or turn it over to somebody else to run and manage, where they had nothing to do with it, because their full-time job is being the president of the United States. That's managing all of those agencies, and dealing with all of their cabinet secretaries and making sure that things are happening for the American people, and working with Congress and having meetings and having state dinners. And so they can't really work on their companies at the same time. But that didn't happen when President Trump took office in 2016. And he continued to receive gifts from foreign governments. We now know that he received over $7 million from China during the time that he was president. And that's a fact. And we now know that, he has just recently in the last week, and why this isn't getting more airtime, the media is screwing Americans over. the media is portraying Joe Biden as, oh my God, this absolutely frail, totally not appropriate, totally somebody who can't handle the job anymore. He better prove himself. And no such standard is being applied to President Trump, who can't string a sentence together without babbling, who is clearly showing signs of dementia, frontal lobe dementia, the way he stands, the way he talks, the rants he goes on insignificant topics like sharks and electric boats. Those are not significant to the American people. They don't matter to you. They don't butter your bread. They don't help Americans. And Joe Biden is focused entirely on helping Americans and passing laws, infrastructure law, the laws. I just, there's so many of them, I can't even think. I just made myself go blank. But he has passed a significant amount of laws that have helped put money into states, the infrastructure that every Republican voted against, and the infrastructure law. There's so many of them that voted against it. Now, when there's bridges being built, or there's highways being opened, or there's something, construction starting somewhere, those Republican politicians are there going, "Yay, I did this. I brought this money home. Look at the bacon I brought home." You didn't. You voted against it. You're not somebody that is actually trustworthy. You're hypocrites, and you are in it for show. And you have lost the faith of the American people, of the people that I know. And I think that it's important now that you know, in the last week, Eric Trump was in Saudi Arabia signing with Dur Global in the city of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. They're going to build a new Trump International Tower. Billions of dollars to build it. And the Trumps get paid because their name is on it, and their standard for luxury and their brand. And they'll be getting paid. So when they sell resorts out of there, or they sell condos out of there, they'll get a cut of all of that. They'll get a cut upon signing and upon breaking ground. So $5 million or whatever it is. And because their name is going to go on it, they're part owner. But they don't do anything. They don't actually do any of those things. They just get to come around and say, "Yeah, this looks good. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love it. Oh." And architects and other designers and builders build those things. And that just got signed this week. So should he win office? I guess it'll be built during the time that he's the president. So how is that not a problem? But, oh, yeah, let's worry about Hunter Biden. Being on the board of something in Ukraine and getting a little bit of payment for being on that board. Wow. Let's really worry about that, when they've also now signed something for, is it Omar? And they already have. Also, they're going to be signing something, if they haven't already signed it yet, in the last week. And why is the news not covering this? It's important. They own and have, in the last 4 years, worked with the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Qatar, the United Kingdom, Spain, and Bosnia. And they've been putting up things. They said they wouldn't do any international stuff, but they are, and they're doing it now. So I wish I could remember the other court cases. Well, apparently you can arrest homeless people now for sleeping in public, which, we all know the corporations have created and controlled this. There's even this, the Justice Department is suing some real estate agents because they have gouged the market, and they're using a computer program with an algorithm that tells all of the different market areas what rent you should charge to be competitive with one another, while screwing the people that are renting and looking for homes. Then there's this other gimmick that's going on where corporations are buying single family homes and renting them at ridiculous prices. And they even have front people, like here in Roswell. I've received a number of postcards. I called them and told them to stop sending them to me. But when I called them, I said, "So are you a home buyer? Are you just going to buy oh, yeah. And when I started asking him more questions, the answer is he's really working for a corporation, giving people cash for your home, quick, fast, give me the house. And then it actually ends up in the portfolio of BlackRock. So that those are now taken off the market, and there are fewer homes for people to stay in. But yeah, let's punish homelessness, which is what the Supreme Court just ruled, that you could do that, and you could now, cities can control their homeless by putting them in jail. That's great. Let's just do a really quick Google search because you guys deserve to know this. This is really important stuff. And the answer is that the only way to combat this at this time, at this juncture, is to vote Democrat, is to vote not just for the president, because you're not really voting for a president. He's the figurehead of the guy that's running the administration. And he hires talented, wonderful people to run those. So my answer is my answer is that we have to vote down ballot, which means anything less than the president is down ballot. That's the senators and the House of Representatives. We've got 3 representatives here and 1 senator up for election. Even if we don't have any local Democrats running in office, I need all Chaves County Democrats to go and vote blue and help those people maintain their seats. Of course, we don't vote for Gabe Vasquez except for 4 people in that one precinct. Poor people. I mean, anyone can vote for them. Independents and Republicans can vote blue, and I think that it would be wise to do so. Okay. They struck down the Chevron, curtailing power to federal agencies. They decided that a key charge used to prosecute hundreds of defendants on the January 6th attacks on the U.S. Capitol. The justice ordered a lower court to take another look at the indictment of a Pennsylvania man charged with obstructing an official proceeding when he entered the Capitol during the attacks. The ruling could affect charges against more than 300 other January 6 defendants. So that happened. Okay, they expand the time frame to sue federal agencies. The Supreme Court ruled on Monday that a North Dakota truck stop can bring a challenge to a regulation issued 13 years ago by the Federal Reserve Board in a 6-3 division, conservative versus the 3. Vote divided along ideological lines. The justices significantly expanded plaintiffs' ability to sue federal regulators, ruling that the statute of limitations to challenge an action by a federal agency begins to run when the plaintiff is injured by the action, even if, as happened in this case, that happens long after the agency's action occurred. Justices at 5 cases out of cleanup conference. They did not rule on the tech platform's free speech. They did rule on the truck driver, and they seek now Trump has now sued to stop the New York trial and would like to have that tossed out because he won on the immunity thing. It's pretty sad shit. I can't even remember. There's another one that was hugely important at the time, and it's just been overshadowed by the Chevron and the immunity one. And so that was what I wanted to tell you about. Was Trump is going to be involved in foreign investment. If you're okay with that, I guess vote for Trump. But hey, you shouldn't be. You really shouldn't be. They now have taken away all of our rights and made us so that he can go after whoever he wants. He can corrupt the Department of Justice. He can use them to go after his enemies. He can shut down the media. And all of these things are covered in your On Tyranny book. If you've purchased it and you've been reading it like I asked you to, I think today is chapter 4. Take responsibility for the face of the world. The symbols of today enable the reality of tomorrow. Notice the swastikas and the other signs of hate. Think Charlottesville with the tiki torches and screaming Jews out now, or whatever horrible thing they were saying then. Do not look away and do not get used to them. Remove them yourselves and set an example for others to do so. Life is political, not because the world cares about how you feel, but because the world reacts to what you do. The minor choices we make are themselves a kind of vote, making it more or less likely that free and fair elections will be held in the future. In the politics of every day, our words and gestures, or their absence, sitting home and not voting, count very much. A few extreme and less extreme examples from the 20th century can show us how. In the Soviet Union, under the rule of Joseph Stalin, prosperous farmers were portrayed in the propaganda posters as pigs, a dehumanization that in a rural setting clearly suggests slaughter. This was in the early 1930s as the Soviet state tried to master the countryside and extract capital for crash industrialization. The peasants who had more land or livestock than others were the first to lose what they had. A neighbor portrayed as a pig is someone whose land you can take. But those who followed the symbolic logic became victims in their turn. Having turned the poorer peasants into the richer, the Soviet power then seized everyone's land in the new collective farms. Collectivization, when completed, brought starvation to much of the Soviet peasantry. Millions of people in Soviet Ukraine, Soviet Kazakhstan, and Soviet Russia died in horrible and humiliating deaths between 1930 and 1933. Before it was over, Soviet citizens were butchering corpses for human meat. You may one day be offered the opportunity to display symbols of loyalty, like your Trump flags or Brandon, it says fuck Brandon, excuse me. That's a symbol. That's a symbol to display your loyalty. Make sure that such symbols include your fellow citizens rather than exclude them, like a rainbow flag. Even the history of lapel pins is far from innocent. In Nazi Germany in 1933, people wore lapels pins that said yes during the elections and referendum that confirmed the one-party state. And that is what Trump is going for, is to create the opportunity as a president to abolish the Democratic Party and create just the Republican Party. So, in Austria in 1938, people who had not previously been Nazis began to wear swastika pins, and what might have seemed like a gesture of pride can be a source of exclusion. In the Europe of the 30s and 40s, some people chose to wear swastikas, and then others had to wear yellow stars. The late history of communism, when no one believed in the revolution anymore, offers a final lesson about symbols. Even when citizens are demoralized and wish only to be left alone, public markers can still sustain a tyrannical regime. When Czechoslovak communists won elections in 1946 and then proceeded to claim full power after a coup in 1948, many citizens were euphoric. When the dissident thinker Václav Havel wrote The Power of the Powerless 3 decades later in 1978, he was explaining the continuity of an oppressive regime in whose goals and ideology few people still believed. He offered a parable of a greengrocer who places the sign reading, "Workers of the world unite," in his shop window. It is not that the man actually endorses the content from this quotation from the Communist Manifesto. He places the sign in his window so that he can withdraw into daily life without trouble from the authorities. When everyone else follows the same logic, the public sphere is covered with signs of loyalty and resistance becomes unthinkable. As Havel puts it, we have seen that the real meaning of the greengrocer slogan has nothing to do with what the text of the slogan actually says. Even so, the real meaning is quite clear and generally comprehensible because the code is so familiar. The greengrocer declares his loyalty in the only way the regime is capable of hearing, that is, by accepting the prescribed ritual, by accepting appearances as reality, by accepting the given rules of the game, thus making it possible for the game to go on, for it to exist in the first place. But what happens, asked Havel, if no one plays the game? So this is where we're at, and I'm about 3 minutes over. We are playing the media game, and we are playing Donald Trump's game. They are not covering him honestly. They are not covering him factually. They have not challenged his bullshit and his lies and his constant stream of utter crap coming out of his mouth. He isn't interested in solving problems. He's interested in creating them. If he wanted to solve problems, he would have let the conservative-led ruling on immigration to have been passed. But he didn't because he wanted politics to win. And he wanted to not give Democrats a win on immigration at the border, even though he's running on border. So, you can stop Trump. And the only way to do it is to vote Democrat, whether that's Joe Biden at the top of the ticket or, as is being suggested on the news, on a constant stream of bullshit. Right now, it looks like they keep saying Trump is up in the polls and Trump is this and Trump is that. But you know what? women are still pissed off that they don't have autonomy over their human bodies in many of the states. And if he gets elected, it'll be a national ban, and women will start dying everywhere. Children are already dying in Texas at a higher rate than they used to because of the ban on abortion. So you can stop it. You cannot accept it. I mean, there's so many more things I want to say and tell you, and I will get back to 2025. I'm just taking a little break because we've had a lot of big, huge things happen. The debate and then the Supreme Court decisions, end of year cycle. They've already helped Donald by delaying things. They heard the case 2.5 months ago and waited until the very last day to issue that. And so, I like our Justice Department because right now, Merrick Garland said, that's fine. We're still going to prosecute him all the way up until January 20th of next year. So we're not waiting for Election Day anymore. So good. Anyway, I'm Sarah. I'd like you to subscribe. I'm sorry I used swear words today. It's not very nice. I'm a little disappointed and upset, or a lot. And it's been hard. So I've turned the TV off for a little while, and I'm doing creative things instead. And I just hope all of you can come to find your peace during this tumultuous time. It may not impact you, and that's my point, but it does. And it does impact your neighbors and your aunts and your uncles and your friends and your nieces and your grandchildren. It impacts somebody that you know. And for you to turn a blind eye or put a grocery sign up so you can just keep doing business as usual is not the answer in order for our country at 248 years to be able to sustain itself. And authoritarian theocracies don't do well for people, and they don't go down in history well. So that is the end of my little story, and I'll be back here next Wednesday. Follow me, subscribe, hit the notification button. Okay, thank you. Have a great day.